What's going on, guys? It's me, TheRealMossi, with another Battlefield 3 video for you. This time we're going to be talking about the latest patch, 1.06. So let's get started. I'm going to be focusing on the vehicles, as I always do. And one of the major changes they've done to the vehicles is that they removed the flares from the gunner position in helicopters. Before the patch, both the pilot and the gunner were allowed to have flares, so that after the pilot pops his flares, if there's a second lock-on and his flares haven't replenished, the gunner pops his flares and you'll be fine. But now they've taken away the flares option for the gunner, so you only have one total flare, and if you use that up, you're gonna have to wait till it replenishes. I think a lot of helicopter pilot gunner duos will hate this, but the guys on the ground who are trying to take out the helicopter will love it, because if the pilot and the gunner had flares and they were using them correctly, it was nearly impossible for foot soldiers to take them down. So I think this would greatly reduce the potency of a pilot-gunner duo in a helicopter. Another thing they've done to reduce the effectiveness of helicopters is that they have changed the effects of below radar. Before, below radar protected you from almost everything. If you were flying below radar, not only can enemy aircraft not target you, but enemy stingers and IGLAs on the ground couldn't target you either. What this patch has done is that it has made the below radar upgrade pretty much useless when it's going up against stingers and IGLAs. So if you're on ground and you're using a stinger and IGLA against a helicopter that has below radar, it's not going to make much difference. You'll still be able to lock onto him and take him out. I actually really like this change, because before this it was very difficult to take out a chopper that was stalking you. All they had to do was fly below radar and you can't do anything. You can't shoot them with your stinger or IGLA. The only chance you had was to hit them with your RPG, and not a lot of people are very good at aiming and hitting a helicopter, a moving helicopter, with an RPG. So helicopter pilots with below radar had a field day against infantry before this was implemented. So I think this is a good addition. Let's move on to the air radar. This is actually a minor change. What they've done is they've enabled the upgrade to show not only enemy aircraft, but also friendly aircraft and vehicles as well, so you could coordinate attacks better. Alright, so the absence of the flare was for the attack helicopter. Now this change is going to be for the scout helicopter. In the scout helicopter, before the patch, the pilot was able to use both the laser designator and the guided missile. Right, this is the only vehicle in which the pilot was able to use both at the same time, whereas in the attack helicopter, when the pilot used the laser designator or the laser painter, only the gunner could use the guided missile. But in the scout helicopter before this patch, the pilot could use both the laser designator and the guided missile at the same time, so he could laser designate his targets and shoot them with the guided missiles. And since the laser designator plus guided missile combo is very potent and is almost impossible to escape from, they have altered this in this patch. They've made it less effective. How do they do it? Well, they've taken away the laser designation ability from the pilot. Now they've given it to the co-pilot seat, which is position 4. So in a scout helicopter you have 4 seats: the pilot, the co-pilot, and the 2 side seats from which you can repair. So they've taken away the ability for the pilot to laser designate, and they've given that to the co-pilot. So now if you sit in the co-pilot seat, you can laser designate the target and the pilot can shoot it with his guided missile. I actually included this in my scout helicopter setup video, and like I said, this thing is impossible to stop. The combination of laser designator plus guided missile, when it's used by one person, the pilot, is insanely difficult to fight against. So although I liked using it a lot and I recommended you guys to try it in my quick tip video, I think this would be another welcomed addition, because it actually adds a bit more balance and it makes scout choppers a bit easier to go up against, especially against someone who has all the unlocks. Alright, now for another minor change. This is regarding the repair tool. Patch 1.04 made the repair tool insanely powerful. All you had to do is walk up to the tank and hold the repair tool next to it for about 3 seconds and you destroyed it. Alright, I'm exaggerating a bit, but that was pretty much the case. I mean, it was very powerful. What they've done now is they've reduced the damage against enemy vehicles that the repair tool does by 10%. So it still repairs your vehicle at the same rate as it did before, but now the damage it does to enemy vehicles is reduced by 10%, and I think that will add a bit more balance and prevent all these guys from jumping at you with repair tools. Alright, another tank related change here. Before the patch, you were able to shoot your main cannon and then quickly switch to a secondary weapon and fire it almost immediately. So I'm talking about shooting your main cannon and then switching to your canister shell and firing it, and switching back and forth, almost giving you continuous fire. What this patch has done is it prevents you from firing for about 1.5 seconds when you switch weapons. So when you switch from the main cannon to the canister shell, you have to wait for about 1.5 seconds before you could fire that canister shell, and vice versa. This has actually severely reduced the effectiveness of the canister shell because of that wait period. What made the canister shell so great was that you could fire the main weapon, switch quickly to the canister shell, and take out the target. So this delay might not be appreciated by a lot of people who use canister shells. And if you're having trouble using canister shells after this patch, I suggest switching over to something like the HMG, which hasn't been changed. Alright, now for the last two vehicle related changes. They've increased the damage helicopter and jet rockets due to other helicopter, other jets, and infantry. Now I'd say this actually provides a bit more balance, because now that the infantry has a bit more power against helicopters using below radar, I guess this added strength to the rockets sort of balances that out just a little bit, so that the helicopter has a chance to kill the guy on the ground who's trying to target him from the ground with a Stinger or IGLA before he actually finishes a lock-on, because below radar is no longer useful to them. And the last thing they've done is increase the damage helicopter gunners and IFVs due to helicopters and jets. So now when you're the gunner in a helicopter and you shoot an enemy helicopter or a jet, it's not going to take you forever. It's not going to seem like it's futile. Well, that's it, guys. Here's a quote of the week. Thank you for watching. I'm TheRealMossi. Tell your friends about me.